got people filtering in, so Muhammad and we're just chopping it up. But let's welcome some folks, and then let's jump into it because I know you're ready.
Hey, listen, I was actually talking to I was talking to folks, one of my connections over at the United Negro College Fund about this earlier today because they just did a workshop and they forwarded me their contact at the Department of Education, for that. But again, this is something that I'm versed in and wanted to share. So this is just so I'm not talking out the back of my head right now. This is legit stuff and it's really going to help you. And I want everybody to be able to take advantage of it.
Heck yeah, me too. Because the reason that we're doing this, the reason that we do the roundtable is because, not only do we benefit our clients and, potential customers, but it's a benefit to us, in our research and, in our prep, we learn a lot. I know I did. So, we won't waste another second because we've already jumped in and I think it's an amazing subject and we only have 30 minutes. So, we're the Bates International Group. My name is Ebony.
Hey, Muhammad here.
All right, and we're missing Marty today, but we know he's with us. We meet. What's that?
No, I was about to say, we're definitely missing Marty. Marty had a death in his family. He couldn't be here with us, so everybody, please keep him and his family in your prayers. And he's here in spirit, so we're gonna hold things down for him.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. Yeah, let's do that for him. So we do this roundtable the first Thursday of every single month at 6:00 to 6:30. So subscribe to our YouTube channel, like us on Instagram, check us out on Facebook. And this is a hot link. So if you click this link on the first Thursday of the month, at 6:00, you'll find us here. And so without any further ado, I'm going to just introduce the subject and kind of step aside because this is Muhammad's playground. And, and I'll chime in with my 2 cents because I have a lot of opinions about it. But we're going to be talking about, the Biden administration student debt relief plan that has some expiration dates coming up that you're going to want to be aware of. And I almost feel like that is like the only takeaway. If you don't walk away with anything else, remember October 31st, as a date that, you're going to want to start looking in, making sure that you got all your things taken care of. We'll also take a brief look at, HPAP and EHAP, which are programs that are, local to the District of Columbia. There's been some recent changes with that. So we just want to let everybody know. But yeah, let's jump into this new well, not so new. It's just I feel like it just hasn't gotten the publicity that it should have or that it needs to, especially with things coming, closely, to the deadline, October 31st. So, why don't we talk about, some of the ins and outs of the program and, our opinions about it.
Absolutely. So you're probably wondering why are a bunch of real estate professionals who give advice on real estate in the market, buying and selling, developing, things of that nature, talking about student loans. The simple answer to that question is we are in a very difficult market that's going to be changing as we look at where we're going over the next 3, 6, 9, 12 months. Now, because we've been in the seller's market for so long, we have inflation that's increased, we have interest rates that are going up. There are a great number of people who have just been priced out of the market or sitting on the sidelines because they can't afford to buy. Now, this student loan relief that's coming into play helps to change that equation for you because it has a direct impact on 2 things. Well, 3, essentially. It has a direct impact on your debt level, which has an impact on your debt to income ratio. It impacts your credit score, and it also improves your buying power, allowing you to be more competitive in the housing market. These things are really, really important. Like your ability to be competitive in a market is Super important. So even though interest rates have gone up and housing prices are going up, if you're able to reduce your debt load, you can afford to buy more house without increasing the amount of money that you're spending on a monthly basis. And that's why we're having this conversation. It improves your ability to compete in the marketplace. So I will give you an example, and this is what Ebony is referring to as far as the dates and what's important. So the Biden administration has been doing a lot behind the scenes stuff, things that have been made more public and things that folks aren't necessarily aware of to reduce and eliminate student loan debt for millions of student loan borrowers. Last year, like September, October of last year, Biden made changes, and the Department of Education made changes to the student loan program. And excuse me, yes, for the student loan program. And those changes were very simple. What that change said is like because of COVID, they were altering the program to allow individuals to have more qualifying payments for the public service student loan forgiveness program. Now, why is that important? Basically, in order to qualify for student loan forgiveness before, underneath the public service student loan forgiveness program, you had to have either 10 years of payments or 120 qualifying payments. Now, those qualifying payments started in October of 2007. So between October of 2007 and now, if you had 120 payments of qualifying payments under that program, you were eligible to have your student loans forgiven. Now, the change that they made is the time that your loan spent in forbearance during that time now counted towards qualifying payments. So your loans in forgiveness due to financial and forbearance due to financial hardship that qualified for as payments towards that 120. COVID qualified towards that 120 payments. Right. So all of those things that before didn't count, and your interest is building up, you still owe money, now count towards payments. That program, that exemption to the program closes on October 31st. So that's something you need to be aware of. So if you work for a nonprofit, you work for NGO, this is really important for folks in DC, Maryland, and Virginia, because the federal government is the largest employer in our region. If you have clients who work for the federal government, you need to be talking to them about this, because federal employees all qualify for this forgiveness program. This is really, really big, because you have individuals who have tens of thousands, in some cases, hundreds of thousands of dollars in student loan debt. I've got one brother-in-law who is a surgeon and one brother-in-law who is a lawyer. Each one of them have over $200,000 in student loan debt. Depending on the organization that they work for, my brother-in-law's case, if he worked for a public hospital, he could potentially get his student loans forgiven. Now, do you know what that does to your credit when you reduce your overall debt to income ratio? I'm pretty sure I'm gonna see some hands. If not, I'm gonna get a secret away. It increases your credit score. So if you have, say, for example, I'll use myself as an example. I have a credit score of over 700. I owe $42,000 in student loans because of, and I'm gonna get into this in a few seconds, the announcement that was made last week. I qualify for the full $20,000 in student loan forgiveness. That $20,000, because the only debt that I have are my student loans, but my cars are paid for, home isn't an issue, paid for, all these things. I don't have a lot of credit card debt, really just enough to keep my cards open at this stage. My only real debt is my student loans. That $20,000 alone is going to reduce my overall debt to income ratio by 50%, roughly about 48%, but we'll just say 50% for argument's sake. That in itself, when it kicks in, and it should kick in sometime in October, will move my credit score automatically, will jump me at the bare minimum 50 points. That 50-point increase will take me above the threshold to get premium rates when I go to finance anything. So when I'm at 725, the number that I want to hit in order to get the best rates is 740. This will automatically put me above 740. So that will give me more options to get money cheaper. Now, I might go up to 800, which would be even better, but that automatically gets me a better interest rate than I would get right now. That's something that is extraordinarily positive in the conversation you should be having with your clients. This is a way to, one, reduce your DTI, and two, increase your credit score without doing any work outside of filing some paperwork. So this is definitely a conversation you should be having with your clients about their ability to increase their overall performance in the marketplace by utilizing these tools. The other piece of this, and now getting into the announcement that Biden made, was it's about 80% of borrowers who have student loans have $25,000 or less in student loans. So the announcement of the $20,000 from the administration in roughly 80% of cases can eliminate student loans for most borrowers. That in itself will increase folks' buying power and their ability to finance, to buy houses. And that's why this is super relative to our industry and the conversation that we're having right now. The other piece here, this a lesser known aspect underneath the plan that's been put forward by the Biden administration, there have been changes to the rules associated with borrowers. So now, and this is something that if you've been in the industry long enough, you're very much aware of the student loan rule when it comes to mortgages. And that rule could be as much as 1% of what's owed if you're not, as a payment, if your loans are in deferment. In this case, payments are capped for undergraduate loans, which is where most people still have their loans. And it used to be 10% of discretionary income. So what the administration has done, they've adjusted the calculation for discretionary income for loans so that less of your money applies to discretionary income. And then two, as opposed to capping it at 10%, they're capping it at 5%. So if you had a student loan minimum payment before of $500, $600, $700, $800, $900, $1,000 a month, and some people have. I have a friend of mine, very close friend of mine. His student loan payment is almost $1,000 a month. His minimum student loan payment now is capped at $500. So that's now an additional $500 that can be applied to a mortgage payment. Are you guys following me? So those funds that were before being used for student loans can now be moved over into the mortgage calculation and increases your buying power. So this is really, really, really important for our clients to understand and to know. The other thing too, for folks at the lower end of the economic spectrum, those folks who are making, $15 an hour, or less, and looking to potentially buy, this is one of the areas that gets really, really important as part of this conversation, especially living in the DC metro area. One, from a federal standpoint, individuals making in that range, and I'll read this exactly from the federal government, raise the amount of income that is considered non-discretionary income and therefore is protected from repayment, guaranteeing that no borrower earning under 225% of the federal poverty level, about the annual equivalent of a $15 an hour minimum wage for a single borrower, will have to make a monthly payment. So basically, if you're on a minimum wage scale and you owe student loans, guess what? You never have to repay those funds. Like their student loans officially go away at that point because of changes that have been made to this program. So people who are struggling to pay student loans and figure out how they're going to live, guess what? Their student loans just went away. So like now they have the ability to purchase because student loans are no longer an issue. In addition to that, very important for DC, DC's HPAP program, which was a really good program before, HPAP limit used to be, I believe it was $86,000 for HPAP borrowers. That was the max you could qualify for if you were at the lower end of the economic spectrum. That limit has now been raised to $202,000. So you combine student loan debt relief plus an increase in HPAP lending limits. And mind you, this is a grant. HPAP money is a grant. This money does not have to be repaid as long as you stay in the house for, I believe it's 5 years. If you, I'm trying to remember, it's been a while since I did an HPAP loan, but, and we need to get the folks over from DCHFA, that's the DC Housing and Finance Authority, to come on and talk to us about the new HPAP.
But before we go on, before we move to HPAP, do you mind if I poke some holes in Biden's plan?
For sure.
Because, I was just Googling, and I don't know if this is correct or not, because this is a quick Google, but just the average salary of a Washingtonian, the average salary is $104,000. So pretty much right there, the average person is counted out, in this
not
plan.
True.
Well,
not true.
But, okay,
no,
hold on. But I'm not done.
You want to poke a hole? All right, go ahead.
I've got a full belly of fire that I'm ready to spit. Okay. So that to me, it seems that, it almost feels like, the 20,000, max, and, the 10, if you had Pell Grant, it's such a drop in the bucket, and it's a good start. I don't want to necessarily look a gift horse in the mouth, so to speak, but because I know that people are going to take it, but it's just not enough. If I'm going to be frank with you about it, it's just not enough. Specifically for certain marginalized segments of society who have historically had to take out higher loan amounts, and it's historically harder for them to pay it back. And then when you couple that with the average, person making that much money, yet still living, modestly, because the price of living is so high. It's like I almost want to yell to Joe, have you heard of inflation? Have you not heard of this? You have some kids, some students, you're doing great. You're in the, double digits. There are people in the triple, six figures, basically, is what I'm talking about, for their student loan debt. It's very common. And I just don't see how this is going to assist. And especially, you talked about the debt to income ratio. So I feel like this is a good start, but we really have to talk seriously about, and we can't let up on the administration. There is an election coming up, and I think that Joe and Biden and the administration, they need to hear this feedback, that thank you, but it's not enough. It's not enough, and it's not robust enough. That money of dollars. So the debt to income ratio, the fact that our student loan debt is held against us as if it's the same kind of debt as a credit card or a car that has depreciating value. You're putting our education and saying that is a depreciating debt that we're going to, as people who graduate, give back, pay our bills, enter the economy. There's going to be a lot of positive things that come out of a person getting an education, right?
So
Why
let
are we
me let me let me
penalizing
let me let
those
me answer
folks who
some.
graduate, who now they graduate, they're making money, but now they're in housing crisis?
So let me answer some of those questions for you. One, this is not an advocacy for any president or policy. This is about how our clients can benefit from
Right.
legislation and from policy that's currently being enacted. And I will give you a couple examples. So the average salary of an individual in Washington, D.C. is $104,000, correct? All right, so we're going to take that as a fact. The cap for a single person income wise is $125,000. So somebody making the average salary in a city like Washington, D.C. qualifies for $10,000 or $20,000 in loan relief if they got a Pell Grant. So they're not ruled out as a result of that. And a family, a couple, a married couple, they qualify for the same funds if they make $250,000 or less. So if you have two people together that collectively make $208,000 and they have student loans, as a household, they qualify for between $20,000 and $40,000 of debt relief, which is a great thing for that couple. And then I'm going to share my screen really quickly just to put this into perspective as far as HPAP is concerned and how this combines to potentially help our clients and help buyers. Excuse me.
Real quick, Mohammed, just on.
Can you guys see my screen?
We could see it for a second. But real quick, I just want to point something out. I put in the chat where you can find more information about the student loan or student debt relief. So check it out. But I really think you want to be careful. In the first paragraph, I hate to say it, but there may be a typo. I think that's supposed to be December 31st, 2022. Okay, guys. So if you're watching this video now or in an archive, I would treat that as December 31st, 2022 for you to have all your docs in. That's the last thing I'll say on that student.
All right. So I have the chart up right now so HPAP's effective changes happen October 1st, right? So a person who's making an average salary in DC of $104,000, that puts them right here. So at $104,000, they're looking at $70,000 in down payment assistance, right? So that's $70,000 in down payment assistance plus $4,000 in closing cost assistance. So a total $74,000 in aid to purchase a house. So that's $70,000 that they do not have to save up for. That's $4,000 in closing cost assistance that they don't have to save up for, plus a DTI reduction of between $10,000 and $20,000, depending on what their loans look like. This is huge, and this is going to change the game for a lot of people looking to purchase a home in DC. And we're talking about some real viability in a very, 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 very tough housing market. Now, things are changing. We're moving a little bit more into a buyer's market. We have to see how this looks if we do have a recession on the horizon and those things for the winter of this year and going into next year. But this is not something that should be sneezed at as far as the ability to improve market conditions for a lot of people in our region. So I wanted to really show this so you can see the numbers and practically look at what this means for potential buyers.
No, can I just ask a quick question?
Sure.
Is Pratish. Yeah, this is Pratish. No, this is great. This will be uniformly implemented between condos and fee simple, right? In other words, there's no discrimination from the HPAP standpoint, program standpoint, whether someone is buying a condominium or versus a fee simple property?
No. So with HPAP, you can buy a condo or fee simple. The only caveat with HPAP is you have to get an HPAP inspection. So your inspector who's inspecting the property needs to be HPAP qualified. If an HPAP qualifying inspection is similar to an FHA qualified inspector, and they have inspectors who have the HPAP certification. You just have to ask your inspector, and if they don't have it, they can refer you to someone who does. But that's the only extra step that you have to go through.
Sure. Great. Thanks.
No problem.
And with the market, softening as it is, I think as agents, it's good for us to kind of get back to the basics and start to think about some of these programs, because where they wouldn't have been possible in a hot market like we've had over the last few years,
they're viable now.
Viable, yeah.
They're very, very, very viable. So really, as realtors, we really have to be educators and spend time both educating and advocating for our clients and looking at how market conditions impact our clients' ability to buy and sell. So my honest opinion and my recommendation is to really do a financial health and wellness check with your clients. Don't just send them to a lender and get them approved to the lender. Like, go through a health and wellness check with your client and look at ways that they can improve their financial profile. And part of that is being educated on what the options are to help our clients. So my key takeaway for today is, education, education, education. Like, we have to stay educated. We have to stay on top of policy decisions that happen at the higher levels and how that trickles down to our business and how that impacts our clients and their ability to operate in this market space.
I would say my takeaways are the deadlines that are coming up. I would say refer to the administration's website that they have on this. Pay attention to the deadlines, apply, let people know about it. And also too, as far as, the professionals go in the room, just know that, January, of next year, which isn't that far away, is when these student loans, all of the forbearance and forgiveness is going to be, that has been extended, is going to be lifted. So it could cause a great strain. The jury is still out as far as, what the impact will be. And I think we'll have time to talk about that as months, move forward. That may be roundtable material. But does anybody have any, questions or final thoughts before we end tonight?
I do want to make one last comment. So I talked a lot about the public service loan forgiveness program, but also the income-based repayment program. And I talked about that briefly. The changes were made to the income-based repayment program that's going to reduce the amount that you have to pay in student loans. I would absolutely talk to your clients about that and look at how that can impact their student loan payment. Because if you have a lower student loan payment, that's going to increase your buying power when it comes to a house or a home without necessarily increasing your overall bottom line. You're basically shifting funds that you would pay to student loans over to your mortgage. So really make sure that your clients are educated about the different options that they have from an affordability standpoint.
One other question on this, just overall. Do you believe this is cast in stone already, this loan forgiveness? Meaning, if Congress changes hands in November, so from January, do you think there could be a legal challenge or Congress overturning? Could this end up with the Supreme Court? I mean, I'm just asking.
So honestly, yes, I think it's cast in stone for one reason. In order to challenge this legally, anyone challenging it has to prove that they are harmed as an individual by this legislation. And that's an extraordinarily high bar to prove in order to have standing with the courts, to say that loan forgiveness harmed me in some way. And that's going to be a really difficult thing to prove. I had Ted Cruz, who I personally despise, but he even admitted that when interviewed over the weekend about this, despite the fact that he hates it, he says like this, it's going to be really hard to find someone to say that they were harmed by this, and they need that in order to have standing with the courts. So there are going to be challenges, but I honestly believe those challenges are not going to get very far because of that high hurdle.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, anybody else? Well, we appreciate you for coming out and spending 30 minutes with us. We hope it was, something that you can take with you and think about and really pass on. So please join us. It's going to be next month, of course, on October the 6th. And, hopefully we're going to have the revenue bonds lawyer back again. And I'm announcing it. I normally don't announce prior, but it's going to be whenever we have our revenue bonds lawyer come on again. She's going to be on for an hour, just so everybody knows and they can plan accordingly.
Also, we'll reach out to, and we have contacts over at the DC Housing and Finance Authority. We'll reach out to them and see if we can get one of their specialists to come in and specifically talk to you about DC's HPAP and EHAP programs in more detail before the end of the year.
That's you can bet on that. That's good. All right. Well, thank you, everyone, and have a great rest of the week. And we'll see you next month.
All right. Happy Labor Day weekend. Happy early Labor Day weekend.
Take care, everyone.
Thank you, Yusuf.